Humans have been straining Earth's boundaries for decades through excessive resource use, growing greenhouse gas emissions, and various types of pollution. But not all megaprojects are destructive. In this, we shall take a look at megaprojects that will take care of nature. We all know how COVID-19 has caused extreme habitat loss and wildlife eradication, and they jumped from an animal to people and caused a pandemic. Experts in public health and wildlife protection caution that if ecosystems continue to be damaged, similar epidemics might happen in the years to come. However, the severe effects of COVID-19 have caused many nations to reevaluate their interactions with nature, and as a result, there have been some victories for the environment and encouraging indications of ecological rebound. Economic downturns lead to the decrease in greenhouse gas emissions. This pattern may hold in the coming years if nations adopt green economic recovery plans that prioritize addressing climate change. As coal output decreased, investments in renewable forms of energy increased. By 2050, more than 115 nations have committed to carbon neutrality, bringing the Paris Climate Agreement within striking distance. In the meantime, 14 countries committed to ultimately safeguarding all of the ocean under their control. Local conservation and restoration efforts gained urgency due to environmental groups' ability to highlight a sometimes degraded advantage of their work, public health. Community-led initiatives during the last year have shown how the coming 10 years might genuinely be the decade of ecosystem restoration if funds and resources are organized, from replanted mangrove forests to safeguarding endangered wildlife. Here are 13 community-driven restoration initiatives from 2020 that must be continued in the years to come. The global restoration of mangroves. Mangroves serves as an environmental and community pillar. They are primarily located in brackish regions around coasts. They offer a haven for various animals, including fish and birds, and protection from storms and flooding for coastal settlements. They are also essential allies in the battle against climate change, since they absorb 10 times as much carbon dioxide as other trees. However, during the 1990s, up to 55% of mangroves were destroyed, endangering ecosystems worldwide. Mangrove restoration requires community support and regionally tailored initiatives, since they are frequently destroyed to make room for commercial projects, according to Mongabe. Locals and government representatives in Tanzania are collaborating with farmers to help mangroves restore land that has been lost to grazing meadows and farmland. Communities in Mozambique are assisting in the removal of mangrove roots that were buried beneath cyclone-related mud. As water levels rose in Indonesia, locals on the island of Java started a large-scale mangrove regeneration initiatives. For the past few years, they have been rebuilding the trees by constructing structures that allow mangrove roots to regrow after realizing that maintaining them helps minimize floods. Arcologies of seasteading. Recent years have seen arcology, a self-contained monolithic metropolis, and seasteading suggestion as a fusion of two outdated architectural fads. Although floating, self-sufficient arcologies have been indicated in cities like Boston and San Francisco, the New Orleans arcology habitat, or NOAA, is arguably the most well-known. Protected wind turbines, freshwater recovery and storage systems, passive glazing, sky gardens for heating and cooling, grey water treatment, solar array, banded panels, and river-based water turbines are all used in the structure, among other sustainable design features. Internal vertical and horizontal electrical transit systems would replace the requirement for vehicles inside the building. Indonesian peatlands are being repaired. Peatlands store twice as much carbon dioxide than the world's forests, helping to balance the planet's climate. On the other hand, when drained for industrial use, they produce enormous amounts of greenhouse gases. The United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, peatland expert Johan Kieft said in a statement that while drained peat supports agriculture in the short term, scientific evidence shows that drained peatlands are highly vulnerable to fires and that long-term drainage causes peat domes to collapse, which eventually results in flooded, unproductive soil. years of peatland drainage have left communities in Kalimantan, Indonesia's section of Borneo Island, vulnerable to disastrous fires. In addition to assisting people in adopting livelihoods that promote the growth of peatlands, the government is now collaborating with the UN to restore moisture to peatlands. The government wants to combine community welfare with peatland health to guarantee long-term sustainability. The Great Barrier Reef's preservation. Coral reefs are popular tourist destinations because they are vivid, intricate, massive structures home to hundreds of species. However, these biological treasures are threatened by climate change, along with a host of advantages, including the growth of lucrative fisheries, storm and flood protection along the coast, and the health of marine ecosystems. Conservationists working with the Coral Nurture program are now attempting to use tourism to the Great Barrier Reef's advantage to salvage it from the devastation caused by years of extreme heat waves. To create a network of supporters, tour guides are being educated to plant coral along reefs and inform tourists about the hazards to coral reefs. This initiative is ongoing along with attempts to block pollutants from reaching the reefs, create coral species that can withstand high temperatures, and generally reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Australian koala conservation. Numerous more animal and plant species were also wiped off by the bushfires that ravaged significant portions of Australia in late 2019. To re-establish koala habitats and guarantee that impacted areas may recover more broadly, the Australian government has committed to planting 25 million trees by 2025. Community organisations, though, aren't holding back. By creating koala sanctuaries in their backyards, regular people have taken action. With Conservation International's assistance, hundreds of socially isolated volunteers have planted eucalyptus and other trees on the weekends. Acknowledging Native American cattle ranchers. All conservation and restoration initiatives owe a debt of appreciation to indigenous peoples' knowledge. Indian communities manage and safeguard 80% of the world's biodiversity, despite making up only 5% of the people. Indigenous groups supported community restoration initiatives during 2020 despite a severe economic downturn. The educator Maria Arzanova from Stanford University received the Bright Award this year for her years-long work reintroducing indigenous customs to the Buryat people in Mongolia. Her group has explicitly aided the region's reintroduction of Buryat cattle and the holistic farming techniques that promote their expansion. Native American worldviews, values, and methods of knowledge to preserve Mother Earth and a variety of all living things for present-day humans and future generations, according to Arzanova. Following this advice, Native American tribes on the Rosebud Indian Reservation in South Dakota are working with charities and government organizations to reintroduce buffalo herds that were purposefully killed to extinction by early American settlers. As part of a more significant effort of ecological rehabilitation, the tribes ultimately intend to reintroduce 1,500 bison across the area over the following 5 years. Meanwhile, the government of Brazil's Bahia state has praised small-scale cattle farmers for their collaborative approach to conservation. The ranchers are merely adhering to methods handed down through the years. They are not developing anything new. They act as a model for how to stop the continued destruction of the Amazon rainforest by doing this. Working with rather than against the grasslands' natural cycles has allowed ranchers to sustain their way of life and promote a thriving agricultural sector. Amphora. Architect Moshe Zwartz of Amphora plans to submerge Amsterdam beneath the metropolis of the sea. And according to Zwartz, it isn't as absurd as it would seem. Building a metropolis beneath the city is not futuristic. It is a necessity in this day and age. It is both realistic and sustainable. After resealing the canals above, Zwartz claims they could drill beneath the city without obstructing existing street traffic or making any noise during work. The 30-meter thick layer of waterproof clay that Amsterdam is built upon will be combined with cement and sand to create new walls. Heat pumps would provide the energy for heating and cooling, and any extra power would be utilized to regulate the temperature in above-ground structures, making Amphora carbon neutral once construction was complete. However, some doubt if Amsterdam needs additional shops and parking. Malaysian rainforest restoration. Palm oil production and industrial agriculture have wreaked havoc on the Borneo rainforest. According to Mongabe, the NGO Sabah worked with partners to purchase property that had previously been exploited for palm oil for restoration on the Malaysian side of the forest. To save endangered species, the organization is replacing various trees over a 2,600-foot wide ecological corridor. In the end, the corridor will link two wildlife preserves, enabling animals to move freely across a more extensive region of territory. City of Masdar. In the vicinity of the Abu Dhabi airport, Abu Dhabi wants to construct the first carbon-neutral metropolis in over 10 years, as we reported back in 2008. NPR claims that to lessen the demand for air conditioning, the city would employ shade and northeast-facing structures, and driving would be prohibited inside the city boundaries. Instead, transportation would be provided by solar-powered cars. Additionally, 80% of the water will be recycled, and every bit of human waste will be repurposed into electricity. Masdar City is a strategy to break the region's dependence on oil, according to Sheikh Zayed, the founder of the United Arab Emirates. The preservation of threatened species in South Africa. In 2020, pangolins gained notoriety for perhaps contributing to the establishment of the COVID-19. However, the public health emphasis on these lonesome animals also made it clear how pangolins had long been cruelly hunted, caught and sold. Since then, protection efforts for pangolins have increased. Before the pangolin working group became involved, pangolins were thought to be ecologically extinct in the KwaZulu-Natal area of South Africa. The NGO engages in comprehensive wildlife management by rehabilitating pangolins rescued from trafficking operations and then keeping an eye on them for an extended period to ensure that they have successfully integrated. The organization reports that 5 of the 7 reintroduced pangolins are doing well. Conservationists in other parts of South Africa have protected cats on 60 nature reserves, resulting in the world's fastest-growing cheetah population. Non-profits can aid in lowering the risk of inbreeding and promoting the stability of the future population by utilizing so many different places. Geothermal power plants. To manufacture the purest and the most affordable lithium on the market, the California startup business Symbol Materials believes that it can extract lithium, zinc, and manganese from the brine produced by geothermal power plants. This may be the most sustainable and economically viable solution to meet the growing demand for lithium batteries. A facility that filters 20 gallons per minute already exists in Symbol. Additionally, a commercial facility that will be constructed in 2012 next to the Salton Sea will have the ability to produce 16,000 tons of lithium carbonate annually. Symbol intends to treble output by 2020. Construction of the Great Green Wall. Communities in the Sahel region of Africa have been working on the Great Green Wall for more than 10 years, calling it the world's greatest ecosystem restoration effort. The vast project includes aiding smallholder farms, reseeding grasslands, preserving waterways, and planting trees. The program has enhanced food security, maintained water systems, and protected people from climate change's effects while generating jobs. The Great Green Wall symbolizes hope for a greener future as the COVID-19 issue exposes our tenuous relationship with nature. Desert Aquanet. The Shimizu Corporation wants to build a network of artificial, linked seawater lakes in the desert, each with a manufactured island for agricultural and urban development. The lakes should theoretically chill the air above each island, making the soil arable after desalination and the surrounding area habitable for people. The project would have to overcome its most formidable challenge, the sovereignty issue. It's uncertain what effects the lakes may have on regional weather patterns or even the potential consequences of the lakes themselves. Alright, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel for updates.